Hello, history scholars. Mrs. Olson here. Today's lesson is titled Reasons Why Colonists Came to America. And that is pretty much the same thing as your learning target. You will be able to understand why or what the reasons were colonists came to America. So if we back up just a moment, we just spent a little bit of time reviewing over Native American history. We are going to obviously learn about the colonization of America, and then with that we're going to learn about the impact of European colonization upon the Native Americans that were already living here. All right, so we're going to start with the lesson. Make sure that you have paper and pen handy. It is definitely okay and encouraged to stop the video, pause the video, so that you can record important information. Okay, here we go. So, I have to give you the background of what was happening in the colonists' homeland of Europe before I tell you what it was like when they got here. Okay, so there was this period of time called the Reformation in Europe. And when we look at the word Reformation, we can see that there is a shorter word in here that might be easier to understand, and that word is reform. Now, reform really means change, okay? So there were these big changes that was happening within religion, the church of Europe, okay? In churches of Europe. Now we have to back up even a little bit further and talk about the Renaissance. It says during the Renaissance, more people learned to read and write. And that's because during the Renaissance, there was this flourishing of the arts, the sciences, literature, okay? So more and more people were becoming educated. Now, Renaissance, to help you remember this period of time, means rebirth. So Renaissance is this rebirth of the arts and the sciences and literature. Okay? Now we're going to fast forward just a little bit. In that during the Renaissance, many people began to read the Bible for themselves because they were learning how to read. Okay? And there was a monk named Martin Luther, and he did know how to read and write, but what happened was that he disagreed with 95 different ideas of the Catholic Church. He writes these down, he posts them on a wall for everyone to read, and then there becomes this conversation about, do I really agree with the Catholic Church? I guess I don't agree with the Catholic Church. And so they started to talk about these different agreements. And some people were, they were convicted enough to try to break away from the church. And the Catholic Church was very, very powerful at this time. Okay, so what happens, and this is really just an overview, what happens is that reform, all of these different kind of disagreeing ideas, they spread throughout Europe, okay? Oh, trying to get to the next spot. Okay, so let me back up just one moment. Now, we are going to discuss 3 different ideas about why the colonists were coming to America. So the first slide was all about the background. So what was happening in Europe at the time. This is one of the reasons, religious freedom. So, the first reason being religious freedom. Here we go. Back up just one more. Okay, Retribution from the Catholic Church. Now, retribution means that somebody has done something that you believe is wrong, and so you are going to punish them. So the Catholic Church did not appreciate what some of these people were doing, these reformers were doing, breaking away from them, and so they instituted harsh punishments. Okay, and so sometimes, now this is a little bit of a graphic picture. Here are people acting on behalf of the Catholic Church and the kings and queens that supported the Catholic Church, and they would torture and also kill people who were trying to break away from the church. Here is another one to show you, I'm going to move me to show you that they were put in these torture type of devices, and they would often die in those devices in the middle of town squares. Okay? So people came to the United States seeking religious freedom because they were trying to worship God in their own ways and not ways that were in line with the Catholic Church. Okay? Now, continuing with religious freedom, there were a group that we know of as pilgrims, and before they became known as pilgrims, they were called separatists because they wanted to separate or break away from the Church of England. Okay, whoops, that's out of order a little bit. Okay, well, we'll just go with that. So, this is a picture of the pilgrims or the separatists coming to America or the New World. You could use that term too. And the Puritans, they didn't really want to break away from the Church of England, but they didn't want to they wanted to get rid of some of the Catholic practices. And so here is a picture of Puritans, okay? All right, more reasons why people came to the United States, and that is money is a humongous motivator. People were in search of riches, okay? So it says that people fled to the New World to find goods. So even though we aren't studying world history, we are studying United States history. You want to know that all over the world, these explorers were finding new products, new items to make money from. And so in in Asia, there were spices that especially the Portuguese were making a lot of money off of, okay? In Africa, we will talk about this even more. In Africa, people were getting rich off of owning people, off of owning and trading slaves. Okay? And then in Central and South America, especially the Spanish coming from Spain, they were getting rich off of gold and silver in the New World. Okay? So there's a picture of Spanish gold. And our third reason for why colonists came to the United States or America is that they were starting to look west for different trade routes. So if you are able to find a new route for different items of trade and you're able to control that trade route, that means that you are pretty darn powerful. Okay. There were some of them that were in search of a mysterious northwest passage to Asia. And why I use the word mysterious is because they didn't know that it was actually there. They just thought that there was a route from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific. And so I've got a graphic that shows us what explorers tried to find this route that doesn't really exist. Okay. So, in search of the Northwest Passage, you can see, I'm going to move me over to this side of the screen. You can see that this is the Atlantic Ocean here. So, off of our map on this side of the screen would be Europe. Okay, and so these guys all tried to find this passageway from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific, to find this different way to different places where they could trade and buy things and sell things at. Now you can go across the top of the world. This is the Arctic, although it really isn't faster, and the route is actually a lot harder because there's a lot of ice up here at the top of the world. Okay. Whoop, back up one slide. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so here I want to show you that this is Europe, this is Africa, South America, and North America. Now, looking at our map legend, the English exploration routes are red. Okay, the French are labeled in purple. The Portuguese are labeled in orange. That's this tiny, tiny country right here. Okay, and the Spanish, here is Spain. The Spanish have a lot of explorers, and they are in yellow here. Okay, and our last map that we were looking at shows you what was being traded. So the previous map are people and countries. And if you look, blue is silver, red is silk, porcelains, and spices. Those are all coming out of China. Slaves are in purple. Slaves are mostly coming out of Africa. Sugar is yellow. Okay, sugar is coming out of this area of the world, the Caribbean. And then other cheap manufactured goods are green, and we've only got a short green arrow from Europe down here. Okay? All right, guys, that is our introduction to why Europeans colonized America. We will definitely talk about it more. Get ready for your lesson questions that match this lesson. Talk to you later, guys. Bye.